Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another GTHL team review. I'm Jaden alongside Kirby Sloan here in the Six Hockey Studios as we take you through what was a pretty successful season for the Toronto Titans. Now, they didn't make the playoffs, but this was a team that a lot of people weren't expecting to do anything at all, and they really surpassed those expectations. So, a really interesting team to take a look back at and review their season. We'll take a look at their roster to start things off. The goaltenders, Jensen Howe and Hugh Patrick Sutherland, two pretty solid goaltenders, and we'll take a look at them a little bit later. Let's move on to their defensemen now. Who did you think kind of stood out from their blue line?
Yeah, the guys I really looked for were guys like Matthew Babby, Corey Mullet, and Cole Thompson. These were the guys that I found really shined under the new coach's system on defense. You noticed that they really brought the intensity that they were looking for, and there were guys I noticed every time they were out on the ice. They were using their physicality, their skill sets with their sticks, noting how good they were in the corners. They were really impressed me this season.
Yeah, another guy who was pretty important to this blue line was Igor Ispalatov, brought in from Russia as there was some trouble with the Titans recruiting at the beginning of the season. They had to bring in a few Russian imports. Ispalatov, one of them, and he was a huge part of their defense and a big reason they challenged for a playoff spot. Roman Buduev and Logan Sitlani filling out the rest of that Titans blue line. As we move on to the forwards now, another group that maybe isn't the best in the league, but they have some depth, they have some talent. So who really stood out for you from here?
Yeah, some of the guys that really stood out to me were Max Dennis, we had Ethan Miwa, you had Tyler Nobili, and you just had Owen Kahl, these guys that really brought pace to this team. I found they were very quick skaters. They were guys that really pushed the pace in transition. You noticed how good they were on the rush, and they really, really helped elevate this team and really did push for that playoff. So we talked a lot about how the expectations for this team going into the season were not high. They were really looking at the bottom of the table, and the fact that they were a couple points short of a playoff spot really impressed me. I think these guys really had something to do with it.
Yeah, obviously, again, a very deep forward group, but maybe not the best in the league, but plenty of talent there. Artem Narbakov, another of the players who I really think stood out for them there. As we'll take a look now at the goaltending tandem for this team. We're going to take a look at the standings first. As we said, they finished just outside of the playoff picture, just below the Toronto Titans there. A really close finish for 10th place in the GTHL. But again, this is a team that a lot of people were saying was going to come in last in this league. So it's very impressive to see them above those three teams that are below them. Now we will take a look at the goaltending tandem. Jensen Howe and Hugh Patrick Sutherland, two very good goaltenders. Who do you think? How do you think Jensen Howe did this season?
I mean, these were the two goaltenders I found that stood out the most on the team, and not just as goaltenders, but as players in specific. They were the ones that stood out, and these are guys that I think are destined for the OHL. Jensen Howe is a guy that you notice is really poised in the net. He tracks his pucks really well. He rarely overcommits himself to shots, and his positioning is really, really good. He helps make himself look bigger. He's always following the puck. His lateral movements continue to get better with each game. You notice at the beginning of the season, maybe they were a weaker part of his game. But towards the end of the season, I really found it something he was strong in, and you can see that progression. Maybe it had something to do with the new coaching, but it really, really improved. He really showed out in the OHL prospect game as well, in the OHL Combine. I think a lot of coaches and scouts weren't expecting him to show up the way that he did, but he was somebody that they were really shocked by, and I think that really helps his draft stock going into this OHL draft.
Yeah, and on the other side, Hugh Patrick Sutherland, the other netminder for the Titans, he's a really good goaltender as well, maybe one of the best in the GTHL this year. He's great at controlling the pace of the game. He has the high hockey IQ that we talk about in goaltenders, where he can sense when his team is looking tired and he knows to get a whistle and help them out, but he can also move the puck if he feels like the other team is getting tired and trying to start things going the other way. He's not afraid to move the puck. He's not afraid to hold the puck. He's not afraid to try and start the rush offensively. So a very active goaltender, and a goaltender who's always looking at the game situation. Just like his goaltending partner, he's a great positional goaltender. He's really big at 6'5", so it's really hard to get shots past him, and he's always in the good position. So it makes it so hard for players to beat him on that first shot, and he doesn't give up a lot of rebounds either. He's really good at tracking the puck too. He's got good lateral movement. He's got great vision. And he always kind of knows where the puck is going to be. That same kind of high hockey IQ that we were talking about, where he knows what the other team is going to do, and he has an idea of how the game is going to move, and he's so good at tracking the puck through that. So two really great goaltenders for the Toronto Titans. As we get into our player spotlights now, Julian Mandarino, what do you have on him?
Yeah, this is a guy we didn't want to touch on earlier because there's so much to talk about. He really was one of the stars on this team for me, just in the way he plays. He is a hard worker. I never saw him give up on a play, especially on those little details. He sticks with every single play till the end. And when your team sometimes is getting beaten down bad, you don't see a lot of players working the way that he would. He is never giving up. Right till that last whistle, he is playing as hard as he can, and it really showed, and that's something that I was really impressed with. He is also a really good skater. He tracks the play without the puck, noting how good he is on the forecheck. He's somebody that if he doesn't have the puck, he's finding the open space. He's trying to generate away from the puck, and when he has the puck, he is generating that offense. He is running the offense, and he is getting it to guys that need it, or he is willing to take it himself and make stuff happen. He plays really well in transition, like we talked about. He's really good at bringing that pace up. He fights for pucks well in the corner. You notice he gets in the lane on the defensive end using that stick. He has a very active stick, which I really like seeing from players. You need to sometimes forget about the body and play the puck properly. I'm sure that's something referees loved about him as well. He wasn't getting in the box much because of that. And what I really loved seeing was the way his two-way game improved game to game. He started becoming a very impressive two-way player in my eyes. One of the best in the league, if not at the end. He was somebody that really impressed me, and you could see he was working on it every game. When he got the chance to shine in those opportunities, he really did shine.
Yeah, another player who really stood out for us this season, Sergei Sasheko. He is just one of those players who can impact the game in so many different ways. He's got a lot of versatility. He plays in all situations, and he has so much skill. He's such a skilled player, and he plays with such intensity. And he can kind of switch back and forth. He can be that skilled guy 1 second if you need to create a spark offensively, but he can also be a gritty, physical, grinding player if you're trying to hang on to a lead or if you're trying to rile up the rest of the team. So that kind of versatile player is so important, and he's such a useful player for them in that way. He tries to really add a deception to his game. He's not always just going to make it obvious what he's going to do or how he's going to do it. He tries to really trick all the defenders that he's trying to attack, especially in the offensive zone. He's always trying to get lost in the play, find that open ice, and use that to create offense. And he's just got a really good shot, too. Just really accurate, a really quick release. So a really talented player, Sergei Sasheko. That's our other player to watch. As we'll get into our draft tiers now. Not too many players we're projecting to get selected from the Toronto Titans. Just they didn't have the best season, but still a lot of talent. So who are you thinking is going to get picked kind of in the later rounds for this team?
Yeah, I mean, this team was just plagued with positioning. The way that they ended up in the standings, it just doesn't reflect well on the players, and they were getting a lot less attention than other teams due to that. So I don't think this is any player's fault, but the two players I see getting drafted probably between rounds 11 to 15 are Jensen Howe and Hugh Patrick Sutherland, both the goaltenders for this team. They really shined. I mean, you saw it every game. They kept them in a lot of these games, and they were a big reason as to why they made a playoff push. We talked a lot about why they're good, and I think that is the skill sets they have are ones that will translate into the OHL, and they're really impressive goalies, and sadly, those are the only two players that we do see getting drafted from this team.
All right, so a really solid season for the Toronto Titans, obviously surpassing all the expectations that anybody had for them. So we're looking forward to seeing how these players do at the OHL draft and in the rest of their professional hockey careers. I'm Jaden Ho for Kirby, Sloan, and everybody here at the Six Hockey. We'll see you next time.